Shh, ducky. Shh. Shh. No. Shh, be quiet. Be quiet. Welcome back, stranger, and thank you again for joining us. Tonight we will be continuing our story, Faust, by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Where we left off, let's see here. Faust is unhappy with his life. Nothing is going along to plan. Sound familiar? Does that resonate? And he considered drunkenness, and he considered suicide and decided those were not for him. And then he consulted spirits and angels and whatnot, and they all basically said they couldn't help him. And so he went walking with his friend Wagner, and I don't know who the Wagner is. That long predates the composer, but and they were talking together in the street, and they spotted a poodle. And I guess Wagner left, and Faust brought the poodle back to his house, I think. Now we'll be reading portions from the study and from the street. We'll be skipping the bits in the tavern and the quiet room and the garden pavilion, simply because they are awfully redundant and very repetitive, and nothing will be missed in context by skipping these places. It's just really a matter of getting to the meat and the eerie bits and the spooky bits and the fun bits, and really so that I don't have to do so many silly voices. Partially. All right, now that we're all here and waiting, let us begin. The study. Faust enters with the poodle. I have forsaken fields and meadow, now sunken deep in darkness when, to boding sacred awe, night's shadow awakes the better self in men. Now lie slumber's savage urges with every vehemence of deed. Now love of man for man resurges, the love of God is stirred and freed. Where are you running, poodle? Cease your riot. Why snuffle at the threshold for outdoors? Go lie behind the stove in quiet. My finest cushion shall be yours. I actually have the wood stove going right now, and my cat Kimchi is sitting underneath it. Coincidence? Yes. And that's what that hum in the background is, by the way, if you hear that. That's just me keeping warm. As you amused us on our hillside ramble, running and jumping without rest, accept my care and here with never a gamble. Be welcome as a silent guest. When in our restricted cell the lamp resumes its kindly blaze, its light the inner self as well, the heart aware of its own ways. Then reason reasserts its forces, new hope begins to stir and flow. One yearns again to trace life's courses, alas, life's springs one yearns to know. Stop growling, poodle, poorly suited to the sacred tones that gently clasp my soul entire as that animal rasp. We know that men have always hooted at what they cannot grasp, and that the beautiful and good is often hissed as irksome to boor and varlet. For dogs then too is it fit to snarl at? But oh, though my resolve grows even stronger, I feel contentment welling from my soul no longer. Yet why must the floods so soon run dry, and we be left again in thirst to lie? I have had proof of it in full measure. Still for this lack there's compensation. The supernatural we learn to treasure, we come to long for revelation. Which nowhere burns so finely, so unflawed, as in the gospel of our Lord. I feel an urge to reach for the original, the sacred text appealing to simple honesty of feeling, to render it in my dear German speech. He opens a book and sets forth. In the beginning was the Word, thus runs the text. Who helps me on? Already I'm perplexed. I cannot grant the Word such sovereign merit. I must translate it in a different way. If I'm indeed illuminated by the Spirit, in the beginning was the sense. But stay! Reflect on this first sentence well and truly, lest the light pen be hurrying unduly. In sense, in all, in fact, action, spur, and source, it should read, in the beginning was the force. Star Wars reference? Yet as I write it down, some warning sense alerts me that it too will give offense. The Spirit speaks, and lo, the way is freed. I calmly write, in the beginning was the deed. Poodle, stop your barking. If you wish to go on sharing this room with me, not a growl or yap. Such a such a noisy, larking chap. Near my person I find my past bearing. One of us, I can tell, must quit this cell. It pains me to cancel the guest right. Still, the door is open, run where you will. But what is this, I say? Could this occur in the natural way? Is it real or some shadow fraud? How my poodle grows long and broad. See him hugely swell and rise. This is not canine shape or size. What have I brought to my house? An incubus? By now it's like a hippopotamus with fiery eyes and fearsome tooth. Ah, I'll make sure of it forsooth. For such half-hellish brood, Solomon's key is good. The spirits chime in the hallway. One is caught in there, you hear. No one follow, all keep clear. Like a trapped fox there shrinks some wily old hell's links. But they heed, upward soar, downward flow, to and fro, soon he'll be freed. There's tricks to show him, aid to be tendered. We all here owe him for favors rendered. First the brute I score, with the spell of the four. Let salamander flare, undying coil, sylph thin to air, hobgoblin toil. Who knows not the lore of the elements four, each one's merits and dower, has no power over spirits. Shrink in fiery flashing, salamander, curb thy waters rushing, undenial, glow with meteor shine, sylph, bring domestic help, incubus, be the last, step forth for us. None of these four is the brute's core, he lounges there with a careless grin, as yet I've left no mark on him. I'll be at your shell with a stronger spell. Might you be tell a truant from hell? Then see this sign, before whose power the black hosts cower. There swells up with bristling spine, monster degraded. Dare you see him, the never created, ineffable being, through all the heavens poured, heinously gored? In the stove nook's gloom, swelled to elephant size, it fair crowds the room into vapor would blur. To the ceiling do not rise, down to your master's heel, cur. You see mine are no idle threats. I sear you with sacred fire jets. Dare not bide the thrice growing light, dare not bide the strongest heart within my sway. Mephistopheles, clothed like a medieval traveling student, steps forth from behind the stove as the vapor clears.
What?
I'm on the internet. I'm on the internet, he says. As you can see, the dog is not so much a dog at all. Mephistopheles, why all the fuss? What's my lord's pleasure, pray? Oh, excuse me, different voice. Why all the fuss? What's my lord's pleasure, pray? So this was at the poodle's core. A traveling scholar, most amusing case. Allow me to salute you, learned sir. You really had me sweating for a space. What are you called? For one so down on the word, who so remote from everything external, past all appearance seeks the inmost kernel. This question seems a bit absurd. With gentry such as you, their nature is aptly gathered from the nomenclature, whence all too clearly it transpires. When you are labeled Lord of Flies, corrupters, liars, all right, who are you then? Part of that force which would do ever evil and does ever good. And that conundrum of a phrase implies the spirit which eternally denies, and justly so, for all that which is wrought deserves that it should come to naught. Hence it were best if nothing were engendered, which is why all things you have rendered, by terms like sin, destruction, evil in brief, are my true elements in chief. You call yourself apart, yet whole you stand in view. I speak a modest truth for you. Whereas your man, that microcosmic fool, regards himself in integer as a rule, I am but part of the part that was the whole at first, part of the dark which bore itself the light, that supercilious light which lately durst dispute her ancient rank and realm to mother night. And yet to no avail, for strive as it may, it cleaves in bondage to corporeal clay. It streams from bodies, body a lens sheen, a body can impede its thrust, and so it should not be too long, I trust, before with bodies it departs the scene. Now I perceive your worthy role, unable to destroy on the scale of the whole, you now attempt it in a little way. It does not come to much, I'm bound to say. What bids defiance to the naught, to the clumsy lumber of the ought? Endeavour what I would against it, I never have decountenanced it. By waves or tempests, quake or firebrands, set it rest at last both sea and land. As for that scum of beast and humanhood, there's just no curbing it, no quelling. I've buried them in droves past telling, yet ever newly circulates flesh blood. And so it goes, it drives one to distraction, from air, from water, as from soil. 1,000 germinating seeds uncoil, in warm or cold, and moist or dry as bone. Had I not fire for my preserve of action, I should not have a place to call my own. And so against the ever sanely benignly creature might, you clenched your devil's fist inanely, uprising it in frigid spite. Come, seek another occupation, or chaos's fantastic son. In merits earnest contemplation, we shall talk more of this anon. For now, though, would you let me quit you? Can I forbid or permit you? Now we have met, feel free to pay your further calls in any way. Here is the window, there the door, the chimney too. My beacon seated, I might as well own up I am impeded of egress by a minor flaw that drew its claw at the threshold's center. The pentagram can make you wince. Confide to me, Gehenna's prince. If that confines you, how then did you enter? How is your mind like yours betrayed? I flip that around. Look at it closely, it is not well made. One of the corners of it, as you see, that faces outward, is a little split. Then I have chanced to think for it. So you are now a prisoner to me? That was a windfall quite unearned. The poodle scampered in quite unconcerned. Now we are on a different tack. The devil can't get back. Why not out through the window then? Devils and ghosts obey regimen. They must slip in and out by the same track. Entry is of our choice, for exit when enslaved. Is even hell with statutes paved? I am intrigued then with you, gentlemen. A compact could and safely too be entered. That which is promised shall be neatly rendered, and nothing stinted or subtracted, but this cannot be hastily transacted. We may consider it when next we meet, but now I urge you and entreat, that for the nonce I might be gone. A moment more left me insist upon. Perhaps you have glad tidings to present. Now let me go, I shall be back anon. Then you may question to your heart's content. I used no trap or stratagem, all on your own walked into my pen. Who holds old Nick had best hang on to him. He will not capture him so soon again. I am quite willing, if such be your pleasure, to stay in company with a man of parts, provided I may while away your leisure in some rewarding fashion by my arts. By all means do, you may feel free, but mind the art appeals to me. In this 1 hour, my friend, your senses will garner in more recompenses than in the year's monotony. What songs the delicate spirits sing you, the pleasing pictures they will bring you. They are no idle magic game. Smell will be set to rapt enjoyment. The palate's a superb employment. Your touch not least be set aflame. No preparation needs our art. We are foregathered. Let us start. So saith the spirits. Melt ye confining, vaults up yonder, yield to the shining ethers fonder, cerulean gaze, cloud banks darkling, dwindle for sparkling, starlets winking, milder sun rays, drinking the haze, heavenly offsprings, graces uplifting, swaying and turning, drifting they wander, lovelorn yearning, follow them yonder, and their garments fluttering garlands, cover the far lands, cover their arbor, where thou wrapped art lover. Love-flung trusting pledges to lover, arbor on arbor, tendrils thrusting, plump grape clusters, plunging in masses to groaning presses with froth and rumble. Sounds like a 21 Pilots song. Wine floods tumble, etc., etc. Of blessed requital. Asleep, well done, my airy cherubim. You found the proper lullaby for him. I'm obliged to you for this recital. You are not the man to hold on to the devil. In welters of sweet fancy make him revel, plunge him into an ocean of deceit. Meanwhile, the spellcast at this threshold level demand a rat's tooth to defeat. No need to conjure, one is near me. Close by he rustles, and wherefore with hear me. Lord of rats and mice, of flies, frogs, bedbugs, lice, hither bids you dare. Gnaw the threshold there, with the oil I rub, there you come scampering up. The work, fall to, the gap that needs enlarging. You'll find it at the utmost margin. Another bite, and it is done. Now, Faust, until we meet again, dream on. Faust, awakening. Am I then once again deluded? Thus fades for me the spirit's rich array, that in a cheating dream the devil had intruded, and that a poodle slipped away. We continue in the study. Faust, Mephistopheles. Faust. A knock, come in. Who now will try my patience? It's me. Come in. It takes 3 invitations. Come in then. Now you know the cue. We two, I trust, will have no altercations. For to chase off your lucubrations, I'm here as a young nobleman for you. In scarlet suit with golden braiding, a mantle stiff with silk brocading, cock feather perched on barret brim, a rapier long and pointed nicely, and I advise you now concisely to throw yourself in similar trim, so that emancipated, free, you may explore what life can be. I greatly fear, regardless of attire, I'll walk in pain the narrow earthly way. I'm too old to be content with play, too young to be without desire. What does the world hold out by way of gain? Abstain, it calls, you shall abstain. Thus goes the sempiternal song that every mortal creature hears, that our entire existence long each hour comes rasping to our ears. Each morning I wake in desperation, sick unto tears to see begone, yet one more day that in its ambulation will grant me not a single wish, not one. That with its stubborn carping tempers each mere presentment of joy, with 1,000 shams of living hampers my live, creative minds employ. When night descends and I would seek for slumber, then too I am not granted rest. I dread to bed me down, wild visions cumber my dreams and make repose unblessed. The Lord within my bosom bowered can stir me to the utmost kernel. The one past all my powers empowered. He cannot alter anything external. Existence seems a burden to detest, death to be wished for, life a hateful jest. And yet death never is a wholly welcome guest. Oh, blessed, he about whose brow he winds the blood-stained laurels of victorious war, or whom spun breathless off the ballroom floor, not bathroom, ballroom floor. Locked in a maiden's arms he finds, oh, had I sunken lifeless wasted of bliss before the lofty spirit's might. And yet a certain person left untasted, a certain brownish elixir that night. In spying, it would seem you have a special touch. All-knowing I am not, albeit aware of much. What if sweet familiar pealing recalled me from that fearsome maze, lured what remained of childlike feeling with echoings of happier days? My curse I hurl on all that spangles, to mine with dazzle and make-belief, with lures and blandishments entangles, the soul within this cave of grief. A curse to start the mud delusion, whereby the mind itself ensnares, cursed brash phenomenal intrusion that blinds the senses unawares. Cursed what in lying dreams assures us of name and glory past the grave. Through wife and children plow and slave, cursed pride of ownership that lures us. Accursed be mammon when his treasure to deeds of daring eggs us on. For idle self-indulgent leisure spreads a luxurious divan. Cursed be the balsam of the grape, cursed highest prize of lover's thrall. A curse on faith, a curse on hope, a curse on patience above all. Chorus of spirits, woe, woe, you have destroyed it. The beautiful world with mighty fist it crumbles, scattered by a demigod, shattered, forlorn. We bear the ruins into the void and mourn for beauty destroyed. Mighty one of the earth's sons, in splendor perfected, see it re-won, in your own breast re-erected, set forth upon rebirth, with freshened sense and new-sung mirth, re-echo thence. Mephistopheles. Hear the smallest of all who are at my call, precociously suing for joyous doing. To the world entire, from this lonesome plot, where thought and juices clot, they bid you aspire. Be done with nursing your despair, which like a vulture feeds upon your mind. The very meanest company bids fair till you feel a man among mankind. It's not that we propose to toss you in among the rabble. I am no ranking devil. But let us say you chose to fall in step with me for life's adventure. I'd gladly forthwith go into indenture, be yours as well as I know how. I'm your companion now, and if this meets with your desire, will be your servitor, your squire. And for my part, what is it you require? Ah, here's the infamous deal, I think. Never you mind, it's much too soon to worry. No, old Nick's an egoist, it's hard to picture him in any special hurry, to be of service for the love of God. Spell out just what the bargain turns upon, not safely if such servant taken on. I shall be at your service by this bond, without relief or respite here on earth. And if or when we meet again beyond, you ought to give me equal worth. I shall be at your service by this. Beyond to me makes little matter. If once this earthly world you shatter, the next may rise when this has passed. It is from out this earth my pleasures spring. It is the sun shines on my suffering. If once from these I draw asunder, then come to pass that will and must. I do not further choose to wonder if hate may then be felt or love, or whether in those regions yonder they still know nether or above. So minded you may dare with fitness, engage yourself these days you are to witness. Examples of my pleasing parts galore, I'll give you what no man has seen before. What is, poor devil, in your giving? Has even human mind in its high striving been comprehended by the likes of you? What's yours but food unsated, the red hue of gold which shifting and untrue, quicksilver-like will through the fingers run, a game which always stays unwon, a girl who at my very breast trades winks already with another's eyes, but honors fair and godly zest, which like a meteor flares and dies. Show me the fruit which, still unplucked, will rot, trees freshly green with each every day's renewal. Such a commission daunts me not. I can provide that sort of jewel. But nonetheless there comes a time, my friend, when good things savour at our ease give pleasure. Should ever I take ease upon a bed of leisure, may that same moment mark my end, when first by flattery you lull me into a smug complacency, when with indulgence you can gall me. Let that day be the last for me. This is my wager. Done, and beat for beat. If the swift moment I entreat tarry a while, you are so fair, then forge the shackles to my feet, then I will gladly perish there. Then let them toll the passing bell, then of your servitude be free. The clock may stop, its hands fall still, and time be over then for me. Reflect upon this, we shall not forget it. That is your right, by no means to be waived. My stake was in no wanton spirit betted. Once come to rest, I am enslaved. To who? To you, whomever. Why regret it? This very evening at the doctoral feast, watch me my servant's duty plying. Just one more thing, for living or for dying. I'd like a line or two at least. Cannot you pedants do without a screed? Have you not met a man who found his word his deed? What, it is not enough my spoken word should force my days into eternal peonage? Does not the world rush on with brimming course, and am I to be prisoned by its pledge? Yet this conceit is lodged within our breast, yet who would gladly see it leave him? Who bears good faith in his pure soul is blessed, no sacrifice will ever grieve him. A square of parchment, though all writ and stamped, becomes a spectre that repels all men. Still in the pen the word is cramped, and wax and leather lord it then. What evil spirit, say your rules? Parchment or paper, marble, brass, what tools? The stylus, chisel, pen, how shall I write it? You are at liberty to choose. How can you with so puny a fuse get such hot rhetoric ignited? Just any slip will do, it's all the same. You draw a drop of blood and sign your name. On with the hocus pocus, I am game. If this is all you need to be requited, blood is a very special juice. Oh, never fear, my promise might be broken. My utmost striving's fullest use is just the part I have bespoken. I sought to puff myself too high. Your rank is all I may attain. The lofty spirit spurned me, and I pry at nature's bolted doors in vain. The web of thought is all in slashes, all knowledge long turned dust and ashes. Let in the depths of sensual life the blaze of passions be abated. May magic shrouds unpenetrated with every miracle be rife. Let's hurl ourselves in time's onrushing tide, on currents as on rolling stride. So may then pleasure and distress, failure and success, follow each other as they please. Man's active only when he's never at ease. No bars or bounds are set for you, if anywhere you feel like snatching. Chance relish sweets of passage catching. May what delights prove wholesome too. Just help yourself and don't be coy. You heard me, there can be no thought of joy. Frenzy I choose, most agonizing lust. Enamored enmity, restorative disgust. Henceforth my soul for knowledge sick no more. Against no kind of suffering shall be cautioned. And what to all mankind is apportioned, I may to savor in my own self-core. Grasp with my mind both highest and most low, weigh down my spirit with a weal and woe, and thus my selfhood to their own distend, and be as they are, shattered in the end. Oh, take my word, who for millennia past has had this rocky fare to chomp, that from his first breath to his last no man digest that ancient sourdough hump? Believe the likes of us, the whole is made but for a God's delight. He dwells in an eternal aureole. Us he committed to the depth of night. And you make do with dark and light. And yet I choose it, worthily decided. I fear just one thing for my part, short is the time and long is art. In this I trust you will be guided. Associate yourself with a poetaster, and let that sportsman brood in Rome, and all the noble virtues cluster upon your venerable dome. The lion's audacity, the stag's swift surge, the Italian's fiery urge. Just name me off animals here. Lions, stags, Italians. The North's tenacity, let him reveal the arcane style, joining generosity and guile, whereby youth's ardor freshly fanning, one falls in love with proper planning. I should myself be glad to meet him. Sir Microcosm, I would greet him. What am I if it is past human power to conquer mankind's loftiest plane, the crown toward which all senses strain? You are all told just as you are. Put wigs on of a million powdered rolls. Increase your height with high actors' souls. You still remain just what you are. Ooh, there's a few more pages of this. I'm going to grab some coffee real quick before my voice goes. It's right here. I need to travel far. Use this time if you, too, yourself, require a hot beverage to cozy on this cold November night. Where were we? Yes. You still remain just what you are. In vain all treasures of the human mind, I feel it have I raked to me at length. When I sit down to marshal them, I find there wells within no fresh resource of strength. Not by a hair's breadth am I grown, no nearer to the limitless unknown. Dear sir, you look on things as crudely as men are apt to do. Instead, we must conduct ourselves more truly before the joys of life have fled. Bah, hands and feet belong to you, and head and arse too, if you please. But what I freely taste and view, is that less mine than those? If I can pay for a half-dozen horse, have I not bought their sixfold thew? I run and show off with the force of 24 legs, not two. Cheer up, throw over all reflection, and off into the world post haste. Taketh from me the slave of introspection, is like a beast on arid waste. By some foul fiend let round and round, while all about green meadow lands abound. How do we set about it? We set off, that's all. What is this place, a penitent's hive? What sort of life is this to drive both self and students up the well? Let that be neighbor Potbelly's concern. Why thresh that straw in that sweat of your brow? The best you can expect to learn. You cannot tell the youngsters anyhow. There, I can hear one now outside. I cannot bring myself to face him. The poor boy, he has long been pacing. He must not go unsatisfied. Come, let me have your cap and gown. A priceless mask they should provide. The devil, Mephistopheles changes into Faust's garb. No fear, my wits won't let me down. I only need a quarter hour's delay. Meanwhile, prepare to start upon our merry way. Exit Faust. Mephistopheles is now in his scholarly robes. Faust's scholarly robes. Go, spurn intelligence and science, man's lodestar and supreme reliance, be furthered by the liar in chief in works of fraud and make-believe. And I shall have you dead to rights. Fate has endowed him with fore-driving impetuousness that reaches past all sights, and which precipitately, I can't say that word, precipitately striving, would overleap the earth's delights. Through dissipation I will drag him, through shallow insignificance. I'll have him sticking, writhing, flagging, and for his parched incontinence have food and drink suspended at lip level. In vain will he be yearning for relief. And had he not surrendered to the devil, he still must needs have come to grief. Enter a student. Student.
I have been here but a short span, and come with a reverent emotion to wait upon an old man whom all regard with deep devotion.
I am much pleased by your polite address. You see a man like others, more or less. Have you had time to look about elsewhere?
Now
I beg of you, receive me in your care. With every good intention I am here, in tolerable funds and best of cheer.
My mother would scarce hear about my going.
I'd truly like to learn a thing worth knowing. You found the very place, forsooth. I feel like pushing on, to tell the truth. These vaults, this maze of brick and wall would not agree with me at all. It's such a close constricted place, no tree, no green thing when I face. These halls, these benches, tier on tier, I cannot think or see or hear. Hear that, children, when told that you need to go to college and get an education to live. That is, in fact, the word of the devil. He is tempting you. 'Tis a hellish place. It all depends on what you're used to. Thus many a child has first refused to take nourishment at mother's breast, and soon begun to nurse with zest. So you will suck the breaths of learning with rising appetite and yearning. I will hang on with joyful clasp, but tell me how to bring them within grasp. Tell me before we come to that, what faculty are you aiming at? I want to get a power of learning, fill up with everything concerning the earth and heaven. You could mention science and nature at the source. Then you are on the proper course. But do not spare your full attention. I will go to it with a will. Of course, time off and relaxation might sometimes take a fancy still, less like when it's summer and vacation. Husband your time, it flies so swiftly past. Yet order teaches you to make time last. So first, dear friend, you should make room for the Collegium Logicum. This leaves the mind all trained and dressed in Spanish trusses tightly pressed, so that it, slow and undistraught, will potter down the train of thought. Not like a will-o'-the-wisp cavort, hither and yon, aside, athwart. They teach you for a year or so, that what you did all at one go, like eating and drinking fancy-free, needs stages 1 and 2 and 3. What though the thought assembly shop is like a master weaver's job, where one tread stirs 1,000 points, the shuffles back and forward fly, threads flow too swiftly for the eye, one downbeat strikes 1,000 joints. Enter philosopher, and lo, he proves to you it must be so. The first being thus, the second thus, the third and fourth must needs be thus. And were it not for 1 and 2, the 3 and 4 could not be true. His pupils laud him, busy as beavers, and somehow never turn into weavers. Who would know and describe a living thing, seeks first to expel the spirit within. Then he stands there, the parts held in his grasp, lost just the spiritual bond, alas. Enchirizen naturae, chemistry declares, mocking itself all unawares. I don't quite follow you, I fear. It will soon grow more nearly clear, when you learn how to analyze and properly categorize. All this leads me as limp and dull, as if millstones were grinding in my skull. Next, metaphysics I should mention, as the formal study for your attention, that'll make your deepest insight strain for things out of scale with the human brain. For whatever fits into it and what doesn't, someone's word is always present. This first semester, though, have patience, minutely observe the regulations. 5 lecture hours is your daily spell. Well, I'll take that. Be there at the very stroke of the bell. Having prepared yourself well before, cramming paragraphos, what's more, to make quite sure with no further look, the man says nothing that's not in the book. Yet by all means take it down in writing, as though it were the Holy Ghost reciting. The student. You shall not have to tell me twice. I sense that is good advice. What one has black on white recorded may safely be borne home and hoarded. Select a faculty, however. For jurisprudence I feel no special bent. I scarcely blame you for the sentiment. I know about the state of this endeavor. We drag prerogatives and laws from place to place by slow degrees, age handling age, ancestral laws, like an inherited disease. Sense turns to nonsense, boon to plague, woe to the grandson that you are, or a human birthright prior to the bar. On that last, the gentlemen are vague. You make my own revulsion rise. Lucky the man whom you advise. Theology looks more like my profession. I would not give the wrong impression. As it concerns this discipline, it's all too easy to get sidetracked in. So much of poison lies concealed within, that's scarce distinguishable from the medicine. Here too the risk is least when just one voice is heard. Swear only by the master's word. In some have words to lean upon, and through that trusty gateway lexicon, you pass into shrine of certainty. Yet with each word there must be a concept be. Oh, quite, no need though to be racking one's brain for just where concepts lacking. A word in time supplies the remedy. Words are good things to be debated. With words are systems generated. In words belief is safely vested. From words no jot or tittle can be wrested. And that is tittle, not title. He said tittle. I dare not waste your time with many questions, but there is one more discipline. I wonder if concerning medicine, you might not have some down-to-earth suggestions. 3 years are very quickly passed, and Lord, the field is far too vast. With just a hint on what is right or wrong, it's easy to feel one's way along. Mephistopheles, aside. I've had enough of this didactic vein. I must go back and play the deuce again. The gist aloud. The gist of medicine is grasped with ease. You study up on macro, microcosm, just so, that in the end you let things go, as God may please. It's vain to roam afield the scientific way, for everyone learns only what he can. He who will seize the moment when he may, he is the proper man. You're fairly well built, to my mind. I'd say there is some spunk in you. If you just trust yourself, you'll find the other folk will trust you too. Especially the women learn to guide their everlasting ha's and ho's, their myriad woes. Can all be cured at one divide. If you adopt a hallway decent air, a halfway decent air, you'll lure them all into your lair. First win their trust by some well-chosen title, that your art puts all in arts to shame. Then for a start you grope for portions vital, that cost another many a year's campaign. You squeeze her pulse a little harder, then lay with cunning looks of ardor your arm about her slender waist, to see how tightly she is laced. Now that sounds better, much less guesswork or surmising. Gray, dear young fellow, it is all theorizing. And green, life's golden tree. I swear this all seems like a dream to me. Might I another time entreat your leisure to draw more fully on your deep sagacity? What I can do, I'll do with pleasure. I find I cannot bear to see my way to go until I have bespoken into my album of your grace some token. Ah, yes, indeed. Mephistopheles writes and returns the book to the student. The student reads, Eritus sicut Deus, scientis bonum et malum, closes the album reverently and takes his leave. Mephistopheles. Go on, heed the old saying, and my cousins the snake. There'll come a time your godlike state will make you quake. Enter Faust. Faust. Where are we off to now? Wherever you choose. The small world, then the great we shall peruse. Ah, with that profit, with that what glee, you'll take this seminar for free. My long gray beard, though, spoils my chance. It cramps the proper nonchalance. This venture won't be a success. I never had a vein for worldliness. In company I feel so small, I'll never be at ease at all. Acquiring confidence, good friend, the more you try, you'll get the hang of living by and by. But tell me, how are we to ride? Where are your groom and coach and horses? I was going to take a pumpkin and turn it into a carriage. This is the part, maybe it's a different story. That's a different story. We simply spread my mantle wide. It shall convey us on our airy courses. Embarking on this daring flight, you'll do best to travel light. Some fiery air which I shall fashion here will buoy us up from earth, quick as you please. Light as we'll be, we should soar up with ease. Congratulations on your new career. And so ends the speech in the study. Faust, ashamed of what the deal he had done, let Mephistopheles go in his place, and basically turned the student into a poor sort. At this point, we travel to the tavern in Leipzig, but like I said earlier, we're going to skip this portion, and only because it's not valuable to the story, and everything that happens of which is told in concept later. Now, to the witch's kitchen. On a low stove, a large cow, I thought that was spelled with a U. On a low stove, a large cauldron stands over the fire. In the steam rising up from it appears various figures. A female marmoset is sitting by the cauldron, skimming it and keeping it from running over. The marmoset Tom with the young ones are sitting nearby, warming themselves. Walls and ceiling are decorated with the quaintest witches' furnishings. Faust, Mephistopheles. I must take this off. It is very warm in here. Oh my goodness, it's like 82 degrees? That's obscene. That wood stove is gone. Faust. I find this magic mongery abhorrent. Am I to be cured, you warrant, in this hotchpotch of lunacy? Do I seek counsel from some scourged quack? Will this absurd swill cookery charm 30 winters off my back? If that's your best, then woe is me. My hopes already seem confounded. Might there be some balm, some remedy, by nature or noble mind compounded? The know-it-all is always look. True, nature's way to youth is apter. However, that comes in a different book, and it's a curious chapter. I want to know it. Very well, it comes your way. Without physician gold or magic rigging, go out into the fields today. Fall to a hoeing, digging. Contain yourself, your mind and mood. Within the narrowest of spheres, subsist on uncommingled food. Live as a beast with beasts, and spur not chores unsung. In person spread your crop fields with manure. This is the best resource, you may be sure. Through 80 years you've stayed forever young. Pardon me. I'm not used to that, it goes against my marrow. To put my hand to hoe or harrow, a narrow life would suit me not at all. So back to witching after all. What need have we of that old bat? Why cannot you yourself concoct it? I can just see myself at that. 1,000 bridges I should have constructed. Meanwhile, not merely craft and art. Patience is needed for the part. This may take a quiet sprite a year or longer. It's time that makes the subtle ferment stronger. And what all goes into the brew? A power of wondrous things you take it. From me, the devil, taught it true, and yet the devil cannot make it. Catching sight of the animals, the marmosets. What? Look, is it not a graceful clan? This is the maid, that is the serving man. Mephistopheles speaks to the animals. It seems the lady is not about, and of course they talk. Gone out to get about up the chimney spout. That's the animals' voices. Does she stay out long when she gads? Long as it takes to warm our pads. The dainty darlings, aren't they striking? And quite the worst of taste, I find. Why, chat like this is just the kind that is most truly to my liking. Tell me, confounded puppet troop, what do you stir that porridge for? We're cooking a broad beggar's soup. You'll have a crowd to forage for, says the marmoset Tom. Come, sir, be nice, and throw the dice. Things have been vile, sir. Win me a pile, sir, and rich in pence is rich in sense. How happy would the monkey be, could he too play the lottery? Meanwhile, the young marmosets have been playing with a large sphere, which they now roll forward. The world's a ball, will rise and fall, roll far and wide. Like glass its tune can break as soon, it's hollow inside. Here it gleams fair, more brightly there. I am alive. Son, use your wit, stay clear of it. Death's in the matter, it's clay from the peat. It may shatter. Why, the sieve. Taking it down. Were you a thief, I'd know and proclaim it. Look through the sieve, you sees a thief, yet may not tell his name. That's way too Scottish. I apologize. Unless you're Scottish. In which case I apologize. Mephistopheles approaching the fire. And this pot, says the marmosets. The silly sot knows not the pot, knows not the kettle. Ill-mannered clod. Here, take this rod and sit on the settle. He makes Mephistopheles sit down. A marmoset makes Mephistopheles do anything. Faust, who during this time has stood before a mirror, now approaching it, now standing stiff, standing off. What do I see? A form from heaven above appears to me within this magic mirror. Lend me the swiftest of your wings, so love, and lead me nearer to her, nearer. Alas, but when I fail to keep my distance and venture closer up to gaze, I see her image dimmed as through a haze. The loveliest woman in existence, can earthly beauty so amaze? What lies there in recumbent grace and glistens? Might be quintessence of all heaven's rays, or could its like on earth be found? Man, you are way too old to be having a crush on a woman in a magic mirror. Mephistopheles. You know a god can't strain 6 days, my friend, and vote himself a bravo at the end. Unless the job was pretty sound, this may keep gazing at your leisure. I may just sniff you out a peach like this, and lucky he... Oh man, this is dirty old man. And lucky he whom fate allots the pleasure to lodge her at his hearth in wedded bliss. Here comes the witch, laughing immoderately. That's in your former vogue. You as you've ever been, a rogue. Mephistopheles to Faust. Friend, mark it well for your own sake. With witches, that's the tone to take. Now tell me, sirs, what brought you here? A good glass of the well-known elixir, but I would have the oldest vintage. Its strength increases year by year. A pleasure. Here's a flagon from my shelf, from which I like to steal and nip myself. Which boy has completely lost its stink. I'll let you have a sample of its power. But if this man, unprimed, should take a drink, you know it well, he won't live out the hour. He's a good friend of mine, he'll come out whole. He's welcome to the finest of your kitchen. Now draw your circle, do your witching, and let him have a bowl. The witch, with strange gestures, draws a circle and places peculiar objects in it. Meanwhile, the glassware begins to ring, the cauldrons to drone, making music. Finally, she brings a great book, and within the circle arranges the marmosets, who must serve her for a pulpit and hold a torch. Oh, that's an interesting image. She beckons Faust to join her. Faust to Mephistopheles. No, tell me what is here intended. This mummery, this gesturing demented. I've seen preposterous low-grade mime enough to gag on in my time. Oh, stuff, you don't know what a joke is. Come, don't be such a solemn stick. She must work up some doctor's hocus-pocus, or else the juice might make you sick. Faust steps into the circle. The witch, reciting from the book with great emphasis. Now mind me, son, make 10 of 1. With 2 have done, make even 3, and rich you'll be. Let 4 go free, the 5 and 6 contrive and hex. To 7 and 8, that does the trick. And 9 is 1, and 10 is none. And there's your witch arithmetic. Andrew, oh, that's good. Oh, what humor. I'm enjoying this. I hope you're enjoying this, stranger. I think the crone speaks in a fever fit. You haven't heard the half of it. I know the tenor of that kind of fiction. I've lost much time exploring it for rules. You see, a perfect contradiction is equally a cult to sages as to fools. My friend, this art is new and old. It has at all times been the custom, by 3 in 1 and 1 threefold, to propagate not truth, but fustian. That's how they teach and prattle undisturbed. Who wants to argue color with the blinded? For people, by and large, just given a word, believe their needs must be some sense behind it. The witch continuing. The potent core of nature lore, from all that seek it shrinking, who's never thought, finds it unsought, possesses it unthinking. What babble does she mouth before us? I'm about to lose my mind. She sounds to me just like a chorus of 100,000 fools combined. Enough, O excellent Sibyl, say no more. Bring up your elixir and quickly pour. The bowl brimful, he'll drain it to the lees. My friend here will withstand it well enough. He's a man of multiple degrees, who's down some strong libations in his puff. With much ceremony, the witch pours the potion into a bowl. As Faust raises it to his lips, a faint flame forms. Well, down with it, and no excuse. Soon you'll have your heart's desire. As thick you are with the deuce. Why fuss about a lake of fire? Just drink the fire's fire. The witch dissolves the circle. Faust steps forth. Out with a will, no time to lose. And I hope my draught will soothe your vitals. As for a favor in return, just choose, and on Walpurgis night will have requitals. Here's a song to sing, and when you do, you'll perceive an added virtue. Quick for a walk now, let me urge you. You must work up a sweat to purge you, so that the power may permeate through and through. Later I'll teach you noble sloth's employment, and soon you'll feel with exquisite enjoyment young Cupid stir and skip about in you. Just one more glance before into that mirror. That beauty was so fair, so fresh. No, no, that paragon of women, sirrah, shall soon confront you in the flesh. No fear with this behind your shirt. You'll soon see Helen of Troy in every skirt. I wonder if we've got any chats. No chats, no chats. Feel free to say hello. I've got a chat. And now, oh, I think we're skipping this bit. Are we? No, I think we should. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, it's only one page. Okay, 2 pages. On the street, Faust is present, and so is Marguerite, walking past. My fair young lady, may I make free to offer you my arm and company? I'm neither fair nor lady, pray, can unescorted find my way. She frees herself and exits. God, what a lovely child, I swear. I've never seen the like of her. She is so dutiful and pure, yet not without a pert allure. Her rosy lip, her cheek aglow, I shall never forget, I know. Her glance's timid downward dart is graven deeply in my heart. But how she was so short with me, that was consummate ecstasy. Mephistopheles enters. Here, get me that young wench for certain. I love this book. Leave a comment below on how well you love the language of this book. This is the English translation. Here, get me that young wench for certain. Which one? The one that just walked past. Her? I just happened by the curtain. At her confession, she's just been pronounced absolved of any sin. She's a right innocent young lass, who brought mere nothings to confess. On her I have no hold at all. She's over 14 after all. You're like a loose Lothario, who thinks that all dear blossoms blow. For him can see no honest name, nor favor that is not fair game. It does not always work, I fear. Your pious worship, spare my ear. Your wise proprieties and charters, let me be plain and hear me right. Unless I have that sweet delight nestling in my embrace tonight, the self-same midnight hour will part us. Come think what can be and what can't. A fortnight even will be scant. To spy out chances, scheme ahead. If I were granted 7 hours, I should not need the devil's powers to lure a fledgling to my bed. That sounded like a Frenchman's boast. Don't wolf your pleasures like a glutton, who would gulp down a quail like mutton. This thing is half the treat at most, unless you need by guile and art and flummery of every sort your sweetmeat to the proper turn, as from the Gallic tales we learn. My appetite is keen enough. Once and for all, a laugh's a laugh. But you just cannot have your way with that young cherub in a day. Assault head-on will net us bruises. We must bethink ourselves of ruses. Get me something of hers for keeps. Let me to where my angel sleeps. Bring me a bosom cloth, a garter, some token for my love to barter. To show you how I strive and strain to serve and soothe your amorous pain. I will not waste another minute. I know her room tonight, you shall be in it. And shall I see her? Have her? No. She will be at the neighbor's though. Meanwhile you'd be alone, and so, scenting delight to come you may at will, of her ethereal aura breathe your fill. Can we go now? No, it is early yet. I need a gift for her. You see to it. Exit. Mephistopheles. Well, he'll go far. A gift right off, no loitering. I know no end of likely spots, sequestered treasure burying plots. I'll do a little reconnoitering. Okay, and here we have a clean little room. There's Marguerite and Faust is watching her like the drooling old man he is, and we're going to skip that bit and skip to the walk, in which case they'll explain everything that happened in that room. Faust walking to and fro in thought. Mephistopheles joins him. By love disdained and spurned, by hellfire infinite, I wish I knew of something worse, so I could swear by it. What irks you? You're all out of level. I never saw quite such a fizz. I swear I'd send myself straight to the devil if I were not a devil as it is. Have you been struck in your upper story? You really look the part, all grim and gory. Just think the hoard for Gretchen fetched, a meddling priest has gone and snatched. Her mother had scarce laid eyes on it, and straightway threw a shivering fit. That woman's nose is mighty clever, it's stuck in the prayer book forever. And with each mortal thing can tell, profane from sacred, by the smell. This finery had, she never doubted, no odor of sanctity about it. My child, she cried, ill-gotten wealth ensnares the soul, beshrews one's health. Let's give it into the virgin's keeping, manna from heaven to be the reaping. Little Meg had a long face, of course, thought after all it's a gift horse. He surely did not lack God's fear, who had so cleverly brought it here. The mother, though, had a priest come in, who, the moment the trick was explained to him, cast a well-pleased eyes upon the lot, and called it a truly pious thought. He who abstains is he who gains. The church has a superb digestion, has swallowed whole countries without question, and never suffered from stomach pains. She, ladies, can alone digest ill-gotten goods along with the rest. I say that trick was trite enough. Both Jews and princes bring it off. With this he slipped into his pocket ring, clasp, and bracelet, chain, and locket, with no more thanks or ifs or buts than if he were given a bag of nuts. Promised them heavenly wage beside, and they were greatly edified. And Gretchen sits there all distraught, and knows not what she would or ought, thinks day and night of that display, still more of him by whom it may come her way. I hate to have the darling fret, get her at once another set. The first was really no great hoard. No, yes, it's all just child's play to my lord. Come on, arrange things as I say, involve her neighbor in some way. You're like cold porridge, devil, stir your bones, and bring a new array of stones. I'm proud to serve you, gracious sir. Exit Faust. Your love-struck fool thinks nothing of puffing sun, moon, and stars into the air, like fireworks to please his lady love. Exit Mephistopheles. And there we will exit as well. We have been streaming now for an hour, and we will continue with the neighbor's house with Martha and Marguerite. Next Friday, 1 week from today, and Friday Night Classics, we read Faust, by Goethe, Part 2. Thank you again for joining me, stranger. You're always welcome in my neck of the woods.